Evaluating medical students and their performance on rotations is one of the most important jobs you do as a teacher. We sometimes think of evaluation as something that happens at the very end of a rotation, when you fill out that electronic form describing how the student did. But real evaluation starts much earlier, ideally at your first meeting. The first part of evaluation is setting clear expectations. It is the job of a good resident educator to make sure that students understand what to do, how you want them to do it, and when they should complete their tasks. Keep in mind that students need to cover a lot of content in a small amount of time. As you teach, avoid going too deep into details that are not necessary for their level. But have high standards. For example, your expectation should be that the student note is the most complete note in the chart. Students should know that the work that they do and the information they supply is crucial to the team. Communicate an expectation that their chart review be thorough and their knowledge of patients' data complete. Communicate an expectation that the student should be asking, "How can I help the team?" Your ultimate evaluation of a student will be based on how well he or she met expectations. Set the groundwork by making sure those expectations are clear and specific from day one of the rotation. Once you set clear expectations, the evaluation process continues as you provide students with feedback on their performance throughout the rotation. It might be helpful to think about this part of the evaluation process as a kind of coaching. Observe what your student does, reinforce what he or she did well, and make specific recommendations for improvement. Students need to hear constructive feedback early and often. Platitudes and generalizations do nothing to help them learn and improve. It can be hard to identify specific areas of improvement, especially for medical students who are in fact doing fine. But try to pay attention to at least one specific skill or one set of behaviors each week, and make time to reflect with the student on how he or she did. Then watch to see if the student improves in that area after your conversation. Providing regular feedback to students throughout a rotation ensures that there are no surprises when it comes to the final written evaluation. Anything written on a final eval, whether it be critical or laudatory, should have been communicated to that student in person well before the end of a clerkship. Again, a good coach will help guide his or her players during the big game, not just after the game is over. By the time you need to fill out a final evaluation of a medical student, both you and the student should have a pretty clear sense of how well they met your expectations during your time together. Students should be evaluated not in comparison to other residents, but based on those high, clear, explicit expectations for individuals at their level of training that you set out at the beginning of the rotation. Not everyone can get fives across the board. Not all students will qualify for honors. Be honest in your grading of students. Feel free to include both positive and more critical comments in the first summative comments text box if they represent your honest assessment of the student's performance. Leaving all constructive comments for box number 2 puts the school in a weaker position to detect and remediate a struggling student. Some other tips on written evaluations. Evaluations should be based on specific behaviors, not general character traits. Whenever possible, specific examples should be included. Any advice you provide should be specific to that student, not generic to all students. And in order to be credible, your comments should be well written and thoughtful. This last tip is an easy one. Your evaluations are most meaningful to students the sooner they receive them. Don't wait. Submit your final evaluations directly after the rotation so that the clerkship administrators can compile the students' final grades and get the students the feedback that they need in order to improve.